Hello, fellow Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. My name is Merle Rutledge, and I am the 2021 candidate for governor of Virginia. To my right, from my screen position, you see Governor Ralph Northam, aka Blackface, aka Mr. Take Your Guns, aka the bitch. Seriously, people. I watched that COVID press conference and he didn't say anything addressing the Virginia citizens. The only thing he talked about was blaming President Trump for exactly what he has done and extending voting so they could cheat our elections. They're not satisfied, people. And that's what happens when you deal with a snake and the devil that only believes and see themselves as doing their own work. Me, on the other hand, I call it the way I see it. And Ralph Northam is a bitch in leadership. There's no other way to say it, people. He's a bitch. Bitches can be males too. And this is exactly that prime example of what I call coward leadership. He's a failure. He is a dark soul, a baby killer. He is fecal matter at its lowest form. And leadership doesn't have no place with Governor Northam as a part of it, or even defined as it. Now, watching the press conference, he said exactly that him and his wife and his close employee, what I call the pool boy, were the only ones to contract COVID. Everybody else didn't. And I don't know too many employees that know their boss and their wife that well, and they the only ones who got COVID. Sounds like you wasn't practicing what you preached, but you wanted to criticize President Trump. But I could remember that you was in Virginia Beach at the oceanfront with no mask on, parading around, having alcohol at Waterman's, partying on the taxpayers' dime while trying to give us restrictions and guidelines for us to follow that you politicians don't. That's what I call a bitch in leadership. But you want to criticize President Trump for doing exactly what you were doing, but he wasn't drinking alcohol. He wasn't getting drunk. He wasn't partying with the good old boys. That was you, Governor Northam. So that's why I'm calling you a bitch. Now, you may say I may violate 1A, just like you said President Trump saying liberate Virginia was taken as a threat. In those words, certain leaders should be careful of what they say. Governor Northam, I'm going to be careful about what I'm going to say to you. You are a bitch, and fuck you on behalf of every Virginian out there that's suffering, that is going to debt, people who have overdosed, people who have committed suicide, people who have lost all their businesses. And the worst of all is to see that you never said one time to all these different groups that I am responsible for your peril. Not one bit of blame, but you was quick to say President Trump threatening you was a problem. Well, people getting evicted out of their homes is a problem. You was quick to say that had the president used proper guidelines, he wouldn't have had faced his situation. Well, jackass, well, if you use proper guidelines, your wife and the pool boy wouldn't be facing theirs. Think about it. Because one of the things you said throughout your press conference, and you might as well give President Trump credit. When President Trump said stop the testing, it sounded like exactly what your doctor, whom I call a jackass because they stood on the stage and said exactly after 10 days, the coronavirus dies. So we don't need to do no testing at that point. Once you, the human, believe that you feel better, you should be cured. So you could go out there saying, hey, I'm so negative that I can't spread it out. But you claim on the same stage, Governor Northam, that once again, this is a serious virus. This is a serious situation. Your doctor just said exactly the same thing President Trump said months ago, that we need to stop the testing. I guess your doctor is telling you once again that Trump is winning and you are losing and the rest of the Democrats. But the problem is people are suffering for the decisions that you made on their behalf here in Virginia. As I look down the thread over and over again to see the people's concerns, because I'm running for governor of Virginia, it's my job to make sure I see what the people need and address their concerns. As they stated over and over again, what's going on with unemployment? What's going on with evictions? What's going on with the schools? Because I'm out of work right now because I got to stay home with my child and make sure that they are getting a proper education. All these different issues of concerns that you didn't address, but you spent most of your press conference talking about an extension or voter registration, while people are looking for an extension on that lifeline that they call hope, life, liberty, and to pursue happiness. You forgot about that, as well as the rest of the Democrats that legislate the laws here in Virginia. When you was pressed more about what you was going to do for Virginia, you sent them doctor jackasses and that stupid attorney general up there on that stage once again to make everybody sick of looking at y'all because y'all have no clue of what to do when Virginians need to know their future more now than ever. That is the sacrifice we made when we voted for these cowards to be in office. If there was one patriot in his administration, one patriot sitting down at the table on his task force, that one patriot would have looked at Governor Northam while he was talking about how he feels threatened, how he needs security. That one patriot would have looked at Governor Northam and said, stop your bitching. It's time for the Virginia people to see leadership. That's a fact. We didn't have time for cowards right now. We needed time for those who was going to point Virginia in the direction that showed that we was getting ourselves out of this mess. Instead, we found out we are being delayed for an election, but people ain't going to have a chance to vote because they're going to be out on the streets while you still talking about vote just to get back in your house. They was in their house before this lockdown. And that's what people are fed up about, is all these different excuses from you politicians that continue to screw up everybody's life. That has been what has happened, people. And how dare you blame the President of the United States of America, blame Republicans for your decision. Your decision has caused 700 businesses plus to be closed per week in Virginia. Your decisions have caused people to wonder where their next meal is going to be and how are they going to provide for themselves and their families based off of your leadership. People right now are even more concerned and worried after your nice little press conference than they ever been before. The disappointment is long ranging in disaster for the Virginia citizens. This is inexcusable, people. to know that you have a governor that is so clueless, that has wreaked havoc and allowed Marxists and communists to destroy a city that represents our state capital. But he's only concerned about his safety and saying his security detail make sure he's safe. You saw how good it looked for him when you were talking about I'm safe. But to us, Virginia for gun lovers, we looking at you and saying, hey, your armed security making sure you safe. It seems like y'all doing good up there at the state capitol, but you unleash the criminals, the worst of the worst, for us to have to fight against because of your decisions. Now we are seeing the bigger picture, and Democrats, y'all need to see this bigger picture too. He lets you know right then and there, your only votes for them. All your problems that you brought up that you are going through now, a lot of y'all can't even afford to make it to election day. Right now, y'all are hoping for a lifeline because his decisions was what you thought was in the best interest of keeping you and your family safe. The fact of the matter is, more people have died from the flu. That's a fact, people. And the people who are dying even to this day are not getting treatment for other diseases and have allowed other diseases to consume their body. That's part of the complications of COVID when you're not getting treatment for exactly what you need to have handled. Just because you can go a month without medication doesn't mean you can't go 2 months without it and your body doesn't succumb. The reason is that medication is the reason why you extend your life. That's why doctors give it to you. But you can't get it if you can't make it into a doctor's office. But Governor Northam, would blame President Trump. But guess what? Those executive orders, his restrictions, that came from him. That didn't come from no Republican. That didn't come from President Trump. You in Virginia are suffering for these Democrats, and it's about time y'all wake up. That's why I'm saying exactly what y'all Democrats who was watching that press conference is saying now. Republicans knew that rat, Mr. Blackface, and that bitch had no business being governor of Virginia. Y'all voted for a name instead of voted for people who had a plan and policy that represented the best interests of Virginia. You deserve that shit. But you can make that same mistake again in November, right now with your vote. Or you can say to yourself, enough is enough. My life is already screwed up enough. And I just saw a governor of Virginia more concerned about his family's safety than my family having food on the table, let alone a roof over my table. I mean, a roof over my head. Excuse me. We should all be discussing. We should. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to tell you like this. Yes, I will be the most out of control Republican because I'm going to speak too real for a lot of people. But that's exactly what they need to hear. I'm going to give out that tough love and that reality of your situation and your circumstance. Virginia is going into a toilet and Governor Northam doesn't have a plan for it. You think he will have police have this type of legislation where they can't pull people over for all of this stuff? What they're saying is we can't accommodate even the most basic forms of law enforcement at this time. And we are suffering at this time period. And we can't give you the truth because we don't want y'all to explode and have another riot. That's what it boils down to. The riot ain't going to be over social justice. The riot is going to be kicking them out at the state capitol. That's what he already knows, and that's exactly what the experts is telling him. That's why you're seeing him worry more about himself and his family and not giving a damn about your family. But he said, make sure you vote. So make sure you vote. But make sure you vote red. Make sure you vote Republican. And make sure you kick that bitch out and anybody like him. Because realistically, They are ready to have their nice little round two of pet projects and out of control spending. And guess what? Y'all are out on the streets while illegals are in the places you used to rent. That's the design. That's the Democrats' agenda and plan. Use you as long as you vote for them. After that, thank you and kick you right in the ass and send you on home. Look at your cities and look at your towns. Haven't they done that? Haven't they done that for long enough? You haven't seen no improvements. That's the real complications of this political hoax. The complications is of leadership. And the fact is they don't have a plan to address what's happening now here in America. Their plan and strategy is don't worry about the people. Use every bit of TV time that you can get, whether it's a press conference, whether it is a response to President Trump's address, whatever it may be. Any form of TV time, you make sure you blast the President of the United States of America instead of taking on responsibility for the state or the Commonwealth in which you govern. This isn't just Virginia. It's a nationwide liberal democratic problem. And I'm going to say it like this. If you're giving out concessions and being ruled by the mob and being intimidated, you are a piece of shit politician. Period. And I include Amanda Chase in that one. The fact is, you can't keep flip-flopping, Northam. Can't keep flip-flopping other politicians. All that bullshit catches up to you. And right now, Merle Rutledge ain't playing no games. Merle Rutledge is taking back Virginia. Republicans, Democrats, and independents. New leadership is coming. And we are going to solve your problems. From the top all the way to the bottom. To the politicians, all the way to the judges and the prosecutors. To the family courts, all the way down to how you living now. We will address and we will prosper and we will overcome. Vote Rutledge, the patriot, for your next governor of Virginia. And vote all them bastards out that has abandoned Virginia at the time Virginia needed them the most. That's why I call swift justice. My name is Merle Rutledge. God bless you and God bless America. And oh, hell yeah.